Colonial language policies were formulated to serve the needs of the empire. The aims of these policies included, first and foremost, the desire to maintain British rule, that the British rule should come to no harm, come what may. Then their second aim was to strengthen the economic condition of the empire, which means to make sure that the empire kept getting wealthier and wealthier. And then also they made sure that there was no disruption to the empire, that the empire remained safe and it had no danger from anywhere. We see that the beginning of the 20th century was a time when several anti-colonial movements emerged both in Asia and Africa. These anti-colonial movements were organized, they were very well organized, and they were not limited to a small number or to some section or one particular section of the population. They were actually extremely popular. They had the support of the masses, and they gradually also got very aggressive. So these movements were not only well organized and popular, they were also becoming gradually quite violent. And all this alarmed the empire. So now the focus of the educational language policy of the empire was to stop the anti-colonial movements. Now their entire focus was shifted to the stopping of the anti-colonial movements, because these movements had caught the attention of the empire, in fact the whole world. So they felt that the language policy and the maintenance of empire were interlinked, they were inseparable, and if they wanted to maintain the empire, they had to implement or impose a language policy which supported the empire, which was in the advantage, towards the advantage of the empire. So when English was adopted by or owned by the colonial people and used to establish or to start these anti-colonial movements, the role of English completely changed. From a means of exploitation, it transformed into a means of resistance. So what was used to exploit these indigenous population, the very population turned the table on the British Empire, and they used English as a means of resistance. All this led to the empowerment of indigenous population. They were able to learn English to oppose the empire. So the empowerment of the indigenous people, when they were there was a time when they were looked at only as oppressed, subjugated people who had no authority or no role in the shaping of affairs. From that state, they became empowered. And how did they become empowered? By owning the language of the oppressors. So they owned English, and that led to their empowerment. In this way, English became an instrument of liberation. The empowerment that the indigenous population got as a result of learning English, it ultimately led to their liberation. So English became an instrument of liberation. And this owning of English was not restricted to only a few from the population. It spread to whole communities. So the whole speech community or a large number of population would engage themselves in learning English to empower themselves and to liberate themselves from the subjugation of the colonizers. Now the colonizers turned to an imperial a language policy, because what they needed desperately now was to safeguard the British political and economic agenda, which was, of course, a strengthening of the empire and continuation of their rule over these colonies. So now they were more worried about protecting themselves from these anti-colonial movements. So they thought of certain safety measures, precautionary measures to guard themselves from the use of language as a weapon in the anti-colonial struggle. Now they wanted to devise policies which could protect themselves from the use of English in these anti-colonial movements. So we see that these imperialistic language policies were not really initiatives, but they were reactive in nature, and they were formulated in response to the empowerment of the indigenous populations as a result of appropriation of English, as a result of their owning of English and learning of English. And this role of the indigenous populations in the spread of English is often overlooked in the history or in the literature of language policy and planning, or by some researchers and writers, that the spread of English was not only a result of imperialism but also a result of these several anti-imperialistic, anti-colonial movements.